Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Merlin, Season 1, Episode 6, A Remedy to Cure All Ills. The episode in a nutshell is just a simple, brief summary of exactly what happens within this particular episode. Edwin sends a bug to Morgana, setting Gaius up to be fired and take his place as court physician, before then attempting to kill Uther for revenge against him due to him killing his parents. And Gaius at first wants to turn a blind eye, but then almost dies trying to stop Edwin from killing Uther. Luckily, Merlin comes in to save Gaius, and by extension Uther, once Edwin is defeated by Merlin. Now that we've rewatched the episode, we're now getting into the parts of the video where we get to rank the episode. A reminder, on this channel, we rank on two lists. We rank on a mostly objective list, which is using set values, and also then the personal list, which is purely my own opinion on how I feel about this particular episode. So we begin with the mostly objective rank values, which will be on screen, and I've highlighted those I felt applied to this particular episode. So the first one that we have is obviously the single episode supporting character introduction, with the introduction of this episode's villain, Edwin Muradin, which is worth 1 point. And then an additional 1 point, we also get a little bit of extra development with this particular character. With Edwin, he does have a history with Camelot and with Uther, in that both of his parents were sorcerers during the Purge who happened to be purged at that point, and they burned, and Edwin as a character has half of his face showing scars from a previous burn, because as a child it is revealed that he did try to basically jump into the fire to save his parents who were burning during this purge. So we get a lot of character backstory involved in order to show his motivation. And as compared to some of the other villains, he does have a pretty strong reason for wanting revenge. However, that being said, our main con for this episode is worth a -4 points, and that is that the main plot concept I felt was kind of weak when compared to other concepts. Number one, it was bugs. I don't like bugs, but that's not objective. But we have on multiple occasions, the bugs being found, Merlin's magic being found out. We have the fact that Gaius doing exams missed a bug in somebody's ear. And I understand that, like, unlike modern doctors, you don't have the little flashlight that can flash into the ear, but I feel if you were doing a thorough examination, as he had claimed, would you not have seen something moving around in there and crawling in there? Like, the ear canal is not that long that you would be, like, completely unable to see this bug in somebody's ear and be able to try to attempt to take it out. As soon as Merlin showed him the bugs later in the episode, he immediately could identify that they were a magical bug and exactly what they did to the patient. So had his exams been thorough, he would have seen the bugs. This whole episode wouldn't even have had to happen. So that weakens the plot quite a bit. Obviously, the remedy to cure all ills, the fact that anybody could believe with the wide range of ailments that exist in the world that there could be one thing that could cure them all, is really unrealistic. So that's kind of something that prevents you from suspending your disbelief a little bit. And then there's also the fact that Gaius has been the court physician over 20 years. He was there during the purge on Uther's side. He's cured everybody throughout other episodes and probably before the show ever started. And yet Uther turns on him, like, instantly for a person that he knows nothing about. It's just, overall, I feel like there were too many flaws to the main plot, and that it definitely was a weaker plot as compared to some of the others. And with that, we essentially end up in a -2. The lowest score that we can give is a 1. Therefore, this episode will end up being a 1 out of 10. So now a reminder on our season 1 rankings so far. In first place, we have The Dragon's Call. In second, Lancelot. In third, Valiant. Fourth, The Poison Challenge. No, The Poison Chalice. Fifth was The Mark of Nimue, and then this episode is in last place with A Remedy to Cure All Ills. So now it's time for the personal ranking, which is based on my opinion, and I'll start with more of a general observation about the show, not necessarily this particular episode, but I've noticed we have a ban on magic that Uther set. And I believe as an audience, we're supposed to believe that this is not fair because there is good magic and like people like Merlin, who we root for, who are using magic for a good purpose, who are using magic to help, to heal, to defend and protect, all of these things. But then every single episode that we see, we show a large number of other magic users who aren't Merlin, who pretty much universally use magic to harm and to cause trouble, to attempt assassinations and murder and torture and all these other horrible things with magic. So it's like on the one hand, you're rooting for Merlin, you don't want magic to be banned because you want Merlin to succeed, Merlin to be able to gain credit for all he's doing, so on and so forth, and yet every single episode reinforces why Uther was actually right to ban magic, in that it is completely, for the most part, seemingly used for evil. At least we as an audience, that's what we get to see, is how it is used for evil by a large number of people. Merlin's one person. Pretty much everyone else we've seen so far who's using magic is using it for ill. I'm just saying, Uther's starting to look really right about having banned magic. Now, of course, with this particular episode, obviously we have Edwin getting himself in Gaius's place, and that starts by him sending flowers to Morgana that happens to have one of the bugs hidden inside the flowers. Which, of course, Gwen brings in, even says, doesn't know who they came from, but they came from Morgana, and then puts it right next to her bed. Which, I mean, to be fair, she probably receives flowers all the time, being the king's ward, and there's no reason to suspect that a bug would then get into her brain. So I forgive that, even though it is kind of a fun, creative way for him to get the bug to Morgana. There's also really only one truly comedic moment in this episode, and that was kind of when Morgana was in trouble. Merlin was pacing, telling Arthur how not worried he was, and Arthur gets progressively annoyed with his pacing, and then eventually Merlin sits down and starts tapping, and then the next thing you know, Arthur pops up and he starts pacing himself. But other than that, like as compared to other episodes, there wasn't a lot of entertainment value as far as like comedic entertainment. This one was more Gaius trying to solve the mystery of who Edwin is, because as soon as Edwin comes in, Gaius is immediately suspicious, thinks he looks familiar, wonders if he's the one who treated the burns as a child. Gaius even goes so far as to go to Joffrey, who is in charge of the archives, to ask for the records of during the purge so he can try to identify him. Joffrey at first refuses his request, but then later does give in and give him the records, which allows him to realize who Edwin's parents are. But by the time he confronts Edwin, Edwin has already discovered Merlin's magic, because once again, Merlin can't keep his nose out of things and was snooping about Edwin's room and found the box containing all the bugs. And then decided, oh, look, this is like an incantation on the top of the box. You know what the best thing I can do is read it out loud. And doing so wakes up all the bugs, shows that he has magic. Edwin comes in, sees the bugs are alive, sees Merlin has magic, and takes the approach to Merlin's face, at least, that, oh, your gift, it's so amazing. I have a gift too. Let's share this secret together. We're going to be bosom buddies and pals. And then, of course, when Gaius confronts him, he's like, oh, well, I'll just tell Uther about Merlin. You'll have to choose between them. And Gaius, of course, doesn't want to. Gaius doesn't want to so much, in fact, that he even goes to the dragon, which he knows exists and where it is, but hadn't visited in 20 years, according to the dragon itself, to try to see if there is a solution in which he doesn't have to choose. But of course, the dragon isn't helpful. In fact, he kind of passively aggressively scolds him for being a part of the purge. I believe the line that he uses, let me see if I can remember it. Right. The dragon tells him that he should turn a blind eye. That is, after all, his talent, which is a great line from the dragon. Obviously, Edwin, having saved in air quotes Morgana, having been the one who cursed her in the first place, gets Uther's ear, starts bad-talking Gaius, saying he's audited Gaius's work and that it was lacking. Uther then decides to fire Gaius, and Gaius does decide to take the dragon's advice and turn a blind eye. He packs up the room, he leaves Camelot, and goes into the woods. On his way out of Camelot, Gwen informs him of what she had seen, because when Edwin was curing Morgana, he asked everyone to leave, but then she came in later, and he was very rude to her, and obviously she was suspicious of him. But Gaius ignores her, continues on into the forest. But while in the forest, he does have his crisis of conscience and decides to go back and confront Edwin. He does so in Edwin's room after Edwin has revealed himself to Uther by first giving him a paralyzing potion, and then while he's awake, sending the bug into his ear so that Uther knows exactly what is happening and why, which is a little bit cruel. Gaius comes in, he fails at a spell he tries, but then Edwin basically knocks him back into a column and then sets a ring of fire around him. This, of course, is when Merlin walks in. Edwin then tries to send an axe Merlin's way to kill him, but Merlin's magic instinctively protects him and sends the axe back to Edwin, who then ends up presumably killed off screen. We hear the impact, we do not see the carnage. Obviously, then the fire goes down. Merlin and Gaius head to where Uther is, and that is where they cure him while he's unconscious, so he doesn't know about magic. Gaius, of course, gets all the credit, but Merlin's fine with that. So it kind of is following a similar pattern to other episodes, but it's just not as interesting. However, I do want to call out that Edwin so far, apart from Nimue herself, is my favorite villain. I feel like his mannerisms make him so likable, like he's trying to be likable. But you know, he does like this cloak, like he has the cloak on and he'll like swoosh it around and it like billows out, and obviously he has like a very soft way of speaking. All of his mannerisms are very put together, very sharp. It makes him really likable. Even the way he empathizes with the people, even though it's all fake, as you know, because he is a villain, it's still, he's a very likable villain, which in this show, I find the villains more often than not tend to be more on the caricaturish side versus like a more realistic villain side, whereas I felt like this one was very realistic in that he could have gotten away with it. He wasn't super suspicious. Like we saw when he was alone with the bugs and everything as an audience, but I feel like when he was interacting with the other characters, he wasn't setting red flags with them. And even Gaius wouldn't have had a red flag except for the fact that he did recognize him, and that triggered in his brain, I know this person, I need to find out who. Oh, now I know. Clearly here for revenge. Overall, I found the episode kind of boring. I felt that the plot was weaker than some of the other plots that we've had, and though the villain was likable, it just overall fell flat for me. So I gave it personally a 3 out of 10 score, which then brings us to a reminder of where our season 1 rankings are so far on our personal ranking list. And for me, the number 1 episode so far was The Poison Chalice. In second place, the Dragon's Call. Third was Lancelot. Fourth was Valiant. Fifth is the Mark of Nimue, and this one is also in last place on this list, which is a remedy to cure all ills. And lastly in the video, we come to our series ranking, which is where we are going to be ranking each season against each other. With each episode that we do, we add the scores from the objective and personal to the total so that once we have completed the season, we'll be able to find out what that season scored in a percentage. And once we've watched all the seasons, we will know those with the higher percentages are the better seasons, and those with the lower, maybe you want to pass on them. In each season, there's 13 episodes, which means a maximum score of 130 can be obtained. With the score of 1 for our objective ranking, we've just gone up 1 point to 36 out of 130, and with the addition of 3 points, we've gone up to 38 out of 130 with this episode. And with that, we've rewatched and ranked Merlin Season 1, Episode 6, A Remedy to Cure All Ills. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.